So I've just found out that Jake Paul, the YouTuber influencer who has been doing a bit of boxing against people who aren't boxers, aside from Tommy Fury, who is a complete novice boxer, and an old retired champion in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., who has been through rehab and all kinds of stuff, been out of the ring for quite a while, an OAP Mike Tyson, who physically is in a terrible place, and two now inactive cruiserweights called Andre August and Ryan Borland, who I have absolutely no idea who they are. I've just found out that that's what qualifies you as the number 14 cruiserweight in the world, according to the WBA. This is an absolute mockery. It's an absolute disgrace. It's a total piss take. I've been in the middle of making another video about Hamza Shiraz and Edgar Berlanga, and I've had to just stop what I'm doing and make a reaction to this. And I'm just going to go in raw here because I'm absolutely furious. I'm absolutely furious. Like, this is the sort of shit that we have to deal with as boxing fans. Everybody in this sport, and I call it a sport because that's exactly what it is, tries to treat it like it's just a business, like it's just a way of lining their back pockets. You cannot tell me in any world that Jake Paul has done enough to be ranked as the number 14 cruiserweight in the entire world. And I want to be really clear from the off, this isn't actually an attack on Jake Paul's boxing ability, because that's not what this is about. It's about what have you done to show me you're the 14th best cruiserweight in the world. Because for all I know, you might put him in there and he might do really bloody well, but that's not the point. You have to earn that position. How can you have earned that position? By fighting a bunch of influencers, athletes from other sports, and having lost to one of the only active boxers that you've actually faced in Tommy Fury, who very much is a part-time boxer at this point in his life. And then your most recent and highest profile win being against a guy who didn't throw a bloody punch for the first half of the fight. And don't bloody get me started on Mike Tyson, who had totally shot to bits knees, stomach ulcer issues months before the fight, was 59 years old, could barely throw a punch. It was bloody ridiculous. The whole thing is a complete mockery and a complete disgrace. And look, let Jake Paul do his thing. I don't care. You can make as much money as you want. You can fight whoever you want. But when you try and dress this up as real boxing, when you try and pretend that you're actually trying to become a world champion, it's an absolute joke. But the reality is this. He might actually get a chance to do it. And has he earned that? No, he hasn't. And what frustrates me about this sport is that everybody's trying to make money. The fighters, rightly so. The promoters, rightly so. The one thing in this sport that should not be solely money motivated are the governing bodies. You are supposed to uphold standards. I feel like Eubank Sr. here ranting about the British Boxing Board of Control when they allowed the rehydration clause of Eubank Jr. It is a disgrace. It's too much. You have one job, to uphold the standards of the sport. You've got to make sure that the rankings are in order, that the best are fighting the best. And look, I'm not stupid. Governing bodies have been pulling this crap forever. Random people appearing in the top 10 so that a world champion can have a voluntary defense. Guys like Joe Fournier suddenly being ranked so they can box against David Haye. It's mental. The whole thing is mental. But this is just taking the piss because this is right in our faces. Okay, this is so high profile. You know, there's plenty of boxers. I don't even know who the top 50 in the cruiserweight division is. That's not the point. When I go and look at them, I guarantee you they'll have won fights that achieve them that position. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull them up. So at number 15, you've got Craig Parker. Has Craig Parker fought anybody I've heard of? No, but that's not the point. Craig Parker has had 20 fights with 20 knockouts. Now, he could be absolutely terrible for all I know, but the point is he's actually been participating in the sport to get to the point where he's earned himself a ranking. He's actually fighting other professional boxers. Like, this just completely baffles me. There is no world in which you can lose to one fighter, who, by the way, Tommy Fury's not even a proper cruiserweight, and then beat an old retired Mexican champion, who, by the way, was a WBC world champion at middleweight, not cruiserweight. It's just ridiculous. It completely blows my mind. And I'm absolutely furious because, this is what is the problem with boxing. These bloody governing bodies just absolutely taking liberties. And look, you're going to get Turkey and Dana White coming along now and bringing along TKO boxing. Do you know what? If they completely eradicate all of them, I'm not saying it'd be better because they might be the same, but it's what these governing bodies deserve because they've just been taking the piss for such a long time. And I want people to make a fuss over this. You have to, because otherwise they'll just keep doing it. And then what's going to happen to the sport? It gets completely diluted because it's just about making money. You'll get athletes in there who aren't as good as the other guys. Then they shouldn't be in there. And yes, you have that to a degree in boxing right now, but at least they're professional boxers. But I'm calling on all the people that I know who are big creators in this space. Ade, G-Man, Proper Boxing, guys like True Geordie. I want them all to make noise because at the end of the day, we've got to show that this isn't all right. Otherwise, they'll just do whatever they want. The only way that a governing body now in boxing, who makes lots of money from what they do, is going to have any incentive to actually run the sport properly is because it's bad press for them. So we've got to make bad press about them. That's the only way. You've got to try and make change. So this is me having a rant. This is me showing my true emotions about this because I think it's important. And like, I am going in here. I am absolutely furious because someone mentioned to me that they heard Jake Paul was going to get ranked. And I thought that must just be a rumor. I can't believe that that's true, but it's actually happened. And I'm in shock. And I'm so bothered by this because I actually love this sport. When people ask me, why do you love boxing? It's got nothing to do with the brutality and violence that exists. It's an unfortunate reality of boxing that is the end result at times. But I view this as an incredible chess match that's happening with high consequences. And I love this sport. And you can't tell me it's the right thing to put a guy in there who's won a fight against two boxers. He's won 2 fights against 2 boxers. Both of them were basically OAPs. Both of them had issues with health. I don't know if Mike Tyson's been to rehab, but he's certainly had substance abuse issues over his life. He was an old man. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. had been in rehab. He should have been retired for a long time. And in fairness, before Jake Paul, he'd had 1 fight in the last 4 years. He was done. He was finished. And then he goes in there and doesn't even really shot. I don't know what he was doing. I don't want to say it was rigged because I have no idea. Maybe he's just lost his range, lost his timing. He's shot to pieces. But, it was ridiculous. And sorry, to be factually accurate, you got Ryan Bond and Andre August as well, because obviously that means you should be a top 15 cruiserweight. And I think everybody knows as well. I think we're all just well, we have to take it. The thing is, we don't. We actually don't have to take it. Don't pay for these fights. Don't watch them. It's mental. And the thing is, it's hard for me because if he gets a shot against Zurdo Ramirez, who is the current WBA champion, I'm going to have to cover it because he's fighting a guy who's a significant world champion. And I guess, fine. I guess in a way, let it happen. And if Zurdo's actually in there to compete, he will absolutely destroy Jake Paul. There will be no contest if he's actually in there to compete. But if there's any weird rules, if there's any nonsense, if there's any backhand agreements behind the scenes, this is a problem. This is a massive problem for the sport that we even have to ask these questions. We shouldn't have to ask these questions around whether or not someone who's coming into the sport is going to be involved in a legitimate fight. This is a huge issue. And as I say, if these governing bodies all get wiped out by this new organization, then you've made your own bed as far as I'm concerned. All the great history that you have, it means nothing when you don't run your organization with integrity. And this is the lowest integrity thing you can do, is invite somebody into your rankings who has absolutely no place being there. But at the end of the day, do you know what? It's going to happen, isn't it? There's nothing I can do about it. I can make noise. I can let people know I'm not happy about it. But if it's going to happen, do you know what? Feed him to Zurdo Ramirez. Feed him to Jai Opetaia, and let's see how he gets on then. But giving him a top 15 ranking in the world as a cruiserweight, it's an absolute joke. I'm out. I'm done with this. Cheers, guys.